look like what was that guy's name?
Hey everyone, welcome to the
Bolt.
Hi everyone, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. Hashtag Ask SBR. His name is Mike Renner. My name is Peter Loshak. We are the Odds Couple. Sportsbookreview.com. This is our live show that we do every day at 10:30 Eastern Time.
Man.
And we have Jeff from BMOCWins.com to add his always very, very valuable and insightful insight.
He broke that Georgia game down perfectly last night, and I sent out a shout out on Twitter, and I talked to him off camera beforehand. But and you know, big man brought it up. There's certain teams that can be a thorn in your side, and there's certain teams you get that feel and that read. You're the same way with some of them small schools like Stony Brook and such.
All right. Well, Jeff from BMOCWins.com, congratulations on your two great calls in our college show yesterday. Had a little bit of balls to pick Maryland just because of the line movement, but that didn't phase you. You had confidence in your pick, and you took them. It felt like, because Maryland had been so good ATS and on the road, and the line moved against them, so you're starting to think, sharp money on Ohio State, this is a trap, but that did not sway you. You went with it, and you cashed, right?
Yeah, I think Maryland, guys, is really good going forward. We're going to find out a lot about them. But, yeah, you can't jump off the train, guys. Sometimes you got to just ride it, take that ride, get into the caboose, get a nice glass of wine, you know, and hang out.
All right. Well, we've got the big slate of college games. We've got the NBA.
Hey, I got to say this real quick. Yesterday also, when Big Man was talking about that game, I kicked myself in the ass because I wanted to jump in so bad, and I knew I should have because I was looking at it first off. So I learned from my losses and I learned from my wins. And two head-to-heads, I lost to Big Man. I beat you in the West Virginia. But I know one thing. When that confident feeling like you guys get on your totals, when that feeling's there for the future, I'm jumping in with Big Man. No hesitation, baby.
All right, sounds good. We got a big NBA slate of games. I did not have 1 second to look at, so did not even look at the NBA games. A lot of college basketball, which I did look at. First, Mike Renner, is there anything that jumps out at you for NBA, or should we move on to college basketball?
NBA, I want to wait and get to that. Like you, Pete, I haven't dove too deep into it, and since we have Big Man on, I'd like to take advantage of this college and see where our viewers might get another edge, and myself might get an edge for tonight.
All right, so a bunch of lines that look like they might have obvious value on paper. First of all, Jeff from BMOCWins.com, you know, Maryland was rolling game in and game out. You took them and they cashed in their last game. Same situation tonight with Georgia Tech, and again, also the line.
Big Man, he's frozen.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
There, I asked you about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is you know, of course, they've covered 6 in a row.
What are they getting, 10.5?
Now it's up to 10.5. The line opened at 8.5, and the line has moved against them. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, look, Georgia Tech, I like at home. On the road, I'm not as high on them. But look, right now, Clemson is struggling to defend the basketball. They've had major issues with the way Georgia Tech's playing. I'm wondering that at the end of the day, this is on the road. It's kind of off the beaten path for them. But look, they have covered 5 in a row. I would probably lean with them, the hot team right now. Clemson's a solid team, but defensively, they're just not good enough right now. So, I would go with the underdog there. For sure.
But I want to ask him real quick. With Georgia Tech, Big Man, and you're right, it's different on the road. But don't you think the momentum they got to be getting from these big wins that they've had, don't you think they might start to carry that on the road right now? And again, against a team like Clemson that's been struggling, especially underneath. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Mike, I would definitely ride with the momentum with them. But you remember, they are a young team. They're a first-year coach and Pastner, who, look, Pastner's done a great job there, but they're significantly worse on the road. I mean, Georgia Tech struggles to defend. They're only averaging about 64 points a game away from home. They're just one of those teams. They're kind of a niche team. When they're at home, you know, I want to back them. But on the road, on a card like this, I'm going to probably look elsewhere.
Okay. Makes sense
and
to
then
me.
I want to ask about another game that looks on paper like it has obvious value. Syracuse at NC State. Both teams with strong home-road dichotomies. Concerns me a little bit, though, that the Greek appears to have a lean towards Syracuse. It's -1. At some point, Syracuse is going to have a good road game, but they've been terrible so far this year. NC State has been good at home as well. So what do you think? NC State +1 or pick 'em?
Well, Peter, that looks a little shaky, that line. You look at that. You know, why Syracuse a pick on the road? That's kind of weird. But I've made it clear with them, they are I don't bet against them on the road. I don't care what the line is. That's another game I'm going to stay away from. That one looks very too good to be true. That NC State team is not very good. I could see them slipping up at home to Syracuse for sure. But it does look like a weird line. That line should probably be a little higher, I think. But
what do you mean? You think Syracuse should be favored?
No, I think NC State should be a 3 or 4 point favorite. Honestly.
Yeah. Right. It's actually now Heritage is now up to -1 as well.
Yeah,
so
and Pete, when you saw that line too, you said there was something with it.
Yeah.
And I spoke with somebody off camera that's a big NC State fan, and I said, "What do you think? Is there a letdown after the big win?" And again, this is a team like Big Man said, the consistency, it's not there. But my thought is, with this time of year, March Madness right around the corner, isn't this when a good coach really gets in these kids' heads and say, "Look, we got to stay consistent. We got to keep bringing it." All right, Syracuse, I'm not sold on them on the road, but then again, I like Big Man. I can't bet against them on the road either, even though tonight I did. I went ahead and placed a bet North Carolina. Took them full game +1. I'm going to take a shot. It could bite me in the ass.
Here's the problem, Mike, and why I would probably agree with you. Syracuse is 0-7 on the road. They have not won a game on the road. Yeah. They're just bad on the road. I'm not interested. At home, I liked them. I had them on Saturday against Florida State. On the road, though, I'm not interested. And, it just looks like a too good to be true line. But, NC State's really good at home. So,
yeah.
All right. And then another game that looks like on paper it might have some value of Villanova at Providence. Providence went into Villanova and lost by only 10
Stole
recently,
my thunder.
Getting a cover. And, now they're at home getting 10 against Villanova. Villanova's lost 3 in a row. ATS, is Providence getting 10 at home a good bet?
Yeah, I would look nowhere else than Providence here. They seem to be a sneaky team, particularly in the Dunkin' Donuts Center. They're a very good defensive team. I think they're going to be in this one late. Villanova, I've made it clear. I'm pretty critical of Villanova. I don't think they're that good. I think they're good. I don't think they're that good. They've gotten a ton of breaks in the Big East this year with injuries and things like that. They're good. But like you said, Peter, haven't covered a ton lately. Haven't been shooting the ball particularly well as a team. I would go with Providence here, probably, if I can get double digits for sure. Yeah.
And Big Man, earlier in the year, as you'll recall, because you're like me, we're Nova fans, and we've tried to get that feel for them, and we've helped each other in separate occasions, and saying be careful or maybe. You know what? Again, this team, I don't know. I just don't know. In that first game, although it was a 10-point win, it was closer than the numbers showed. And I think Providence is going to be waiting at home. I'm not a big underdog guy, but this is one I think you got to, if not taking the game as a dog, put them on a teaser, because I'm not sold on Villanova big spreads on the road. Not this year, not with that squad. And I wanted your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not sold on Villanova. I think it's very much Josh Hart or nothing. Yep. They've, kind of failed to their supporting cast just isn't good enough. I mean, Chris Jenkins either needs to step up or do whatever he needs to do. But if they have some good players, they don't particularly have a great front court either with some of their bigs. And you look at this series against Providence, last couple games, I mean, they've been pretty close for what it's worth. I mean, they've been decided, around 10 points. But long term, I think they'll win the Big East just because, Creighton lost their best players. Xavier lost 2 of their good players. I mean, they've had a decent road, but long term, I'm not particularly high on Villanova.
I like what you said about Chris Jenkins, another friend of mine who's a big Nova fan. He said he hasn't stepped up in his reasoning. He thinks that the cast that they lost, made him a better player last year. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, they lost their bigs, and that was kind of the big thing. Going forward, they aren't going to have those.
All right, and then another team that's a big road favorite that I'm not sure if it's justified is Cincinnati at Tulsa. Tulsa's been great at home this year, ATS. They also beat another top team in the American, Memphis, when they were a home dog to them. They're now, and this line has also gotten bet up. It was opened at about 8, now it's up to 9 or 9.5. I'm thinking Tulsa might be a good bet, or no?
Big Man's had a good feel for Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on that, Big Man?
Yeah, I like Cincinnati a whole lot at home, for sure. But look, anywhere they go, they're good defensively. That's something that is kind of drilled into their head when they get on campus. But you look at home, in all games this year, 48%. On the road, 40.9%. Definitely drop off there. And you mentioned it, Peter. Tulsa under Frank Haith has played better. I thought it'd be a long season for them, but they've kind of held their own. Covered 7 of 9 in Tulsa. Yeah, I would look to lean with the underdog there. I think at some point, Cincinnati's going to struggle in a game. We also have to point out, guys, 64% from Cincinnati at the free throw line, 72.5% for Tulsa. That could be the difference between a cover and a loss. I think you see a cover here, similar to what you saw last night with Temple Tulane. I know it wasn't a cover for most. I think Peter Loshek ended up pushing due to his line movements. But other than that, I think you see a game similar to that.
All right, and then the big game of the night is Baylor at Kansas. Kansas coming off the big win. Baylor has lost 6 out of the last 8 ATS, but Kansas hasn't been good ATS either overall on the year. And Kansas coming off the big win. I'm thinking maybe Baylor might be the play here at 6.5. What do you think?
I would actually look the other way, Peter, personally. I think Kansas is kind of developing and becoming I think they are the second best team in the country, obviously behind Gonzaga right now. But look, Baylor, for whatever reason, I'm a little unsure of them still. I don't know why. I still get an uneasy feeling watching them. I think they're good. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're in with the Baylor or the Kentuckys and the Kansases and some of the bigger teams. They're good. I don't think they're great. I think Kansas got a lot of motivation and a lot of drive off that win at Kentucky. They can score a ton, and I think they're going to defend at a high level. Depth can be a concern, but this kind of looks like that West Virginia Baylor game a couple weeks ago where it kind of looked too obvious. Baylor, number 2 team in the country. I think Kansas wins this one by double digits.
That's good insight there. And you know what? We were talking about it on our college show, big man. I think also Kansas has the edge. Bill Self, I think coaching will play the factor here. Again, big win against Kentucky. He is able to parlay that into, guys, we have to take this momentum and roll into the tournament, and we cannot afford to let one bit of that go. And I have the same exact feeling with Baylor. I can't get the feeling. I just think they're overrated somehow, overvalued somehow. But I think tonight is going to be the big telltale story about that team moving forward.
All right. And you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing. Kansas has covered 5 of 6 against Baylor. The one issue I have here with Kansas is they're not a great ATS team, Peter. I'm sure you see that. Yep. They do struggle to cover games. But if I can get 6.5, I think it's kind of worth the play here.
All right. Then the other one, UCLA, they've lost 2 in a row straight up. Wow. 8 out of their last 10 ATS. Washington State can be a vulnerable team, though, against teams like this. UCLA minus 14.5 or 15 as a road favorite. Mike Brenner likes UCLA here, at least in the first half, to come out and run all over Washington State. Do you agree with that, Mike Brenner? Jeff?
They should. I do like Ernie Kent, Washington State. They have improved this year. I would probably look over the total in this game. Both these, we know UCLA is going to look to score 90 probably in this game. And Washington State, they're not a terrible defensive or offensive team, but I don't know. Washington State is a little better, but it's hard to lay 15 on the road, even with UCLA. I'm not a big fan of doing that, especially with the way UCLA is defensively. Mike, just keep in mind, UCLA over the last 5, they're giving up 86 points a game, albeit to better opponents, but this should be a coming out game for them. They should be able to roll here, but
and why I like it, big man, and I know you have a good feel for these type of games. All right, Alfred they had a weekend off. They've been able to digest their absolute just meltdown on defense, and their offense has been really just absolutely putrid compared to what it was. All right, it wasn't too long ago, Washington State was at home against Utah. Utah had this team buried by 26 points at halftime. All right, and I'll take UCLA's offense over Utah any day. I think they get sparked up. This is the time also when coaching says this shit's going to stop. Let's go back to who we are. I like the over as well because I don't think they fixed their defensive issues tonight, but I think offensively they spread themselves out. Pistol Pete got me -8 on the first half. If Utah can bury this team at halftime, I think a desperate UCLA team coming off of a weekend off, all right, with a locker room scolding, I think they get it done, and that's why I like the first half.
I would hope that Steve Alford challenges them defensively and says, look, let's come out here and do something. I'm personally not big on the rah-rah stuff because at the end of the day, these kids are young and they're going to do what they want to do. But I would hope they are challenged to say, you know what, let's come out and play good defensively tonight. And again, that kind of goes against my overplay, and that's why I think your first half play is probably the way to go here in this one.
Yeah.
All right. That covers most of the top goals. Then there's also Mike Brenner loves.
I wanted to ask what he thought about South Carolina.
Yeah, Mike Brenner loves South Carolina. LSU has had 4 straight bad home results, ATS and straight up. At some point, that's likely to change a little bit, but they've been terrible. Is the line too high?
I don't know. LSU has had major issues, like you guys said. They can't stop you, me, Dennis, and 2 other employees. It's really, seriously, it's really gotten bad for that team. And their coach Johnny Jones might be looking for a job here in the next month or 2.
That's what I heard.
South Carolina, a lockdown defensive team. You're not gonna score a ton against them. They're giving up 37% from the field this year. That's fantastic.
Yep.
They've been able to score the basketball lately. The one issue I have with South Carolina and blowout potential is they're not very good offensively. They want to win in the half court. I don't know if this is a great matchup for them schematically. LSU does like to run, and at home maybe they can develop some tempo. But you would hope South Carolina can play the game they want to play. They just look. I mean, they're only shooting 39.8% on the road. That's not good at all. So I'm hoping they can score against LSU though.
And I think they will. And here's what I like, because I heard the same news about the coach. Matter of fact, I heard it's pretty much a done deal. So that team's a mess at home. And I just think Frank Martin is going to have them locked down defensively. And I think that'll make up for the number and cover, even with their road deficiencies offensively. So I'm banking on that. And I think Frank Martin's going to have the boys ready to go.
All right. Mike Brenner's made his opinions clear. Jeff from BMOCWins.com, is there any value that you want to share with us that you think we haven't gotten to yet?
I kind of like Seton Hall a little bit. I think I'm kind of scratching my head at that line. I don't really get it. I mean, Xavier's, very average. And I think they were very average with Edmond Sumner. Now without Edmond Sumner, I'm not really sure why they're 6.5-point favorites here. Seton Hall has been a pretty – they've been a great team, but they've been a thorn in your side type of team. They played well enough defensively. I think they're good enough offensively to hang around here. I just don't know that Xavier is going to have enough bodies to really, win by. You basically need them to win by, getting close to double digits. I'm not sure right now they're in the mindset to do that.
Okay, Mike Brenner does like Xavier tonight. Yeah,
on the half. I don't like the game because of that same reasoning, but I did look into Seton Hall's road first half woes, and their shooting, they struggle. They pick it up in the second half on the road, and I think Xavier still has fresh in their mind those 3 losses, and then they realize we got to step it up. Again, I don't think they're a powerful team, but I got it at 3.5 on the first half. I'm shooting for that, and then see what happens in the second half.
All right, Jeff, is that it for you?
Yeah, one other one. It's kind of off the grid, but it makes 0 sense. And I think as far as the public's concerned, you might see this line and say, why is a 15-9 team an underdog to Tennessee Tech, who's 9-15? This is one of those games. Tennessee Tech wins the game outright. They cover. It's just hard for me to buy into. I don't really care about numbers in these kind of games. When you see a game like this, you look at last night with Ohio, Western Michigan. No one thought Western Michigan would win that game. They were down 21 at one point. But as a 1-point underdog at home against a good team, they're just begging you to take Ohio. I think Tennessee Martin's in a similar predicament tonight.
I think you're right.
Tennessee Tech wins and covers this one.
All right. Nice analysis. Jeff from BMOCWins.com. All right. I guess that wraps it up, guys.
Yep. Any questions? Anybody have anything? Or? What happens, big man on campus?
But,
I'm there.
Comments saying that Xavier has been overrated all year.
Yeah.
Someone else like Seton Hall at plus 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
What was all the overs last night in NHL? Goddamn.
Oh my God! And you know what? It was because they came off of the NHL All-Star break, and those hockey players, man, when they come out like a bat out of hell. And Scott Carter and Dana Lane on our Puckhead show both yesterday said this is a good time for first period overs and a good time for full game. Scott Carter was on one; it was a 5.5. It was a 6-3, 9 goals. So you're right. Yep.
And I think any thoughts on the Texas versus Texas Tech?
I think Texas might get it done. They're starting to, they're trying to find themselves. Big man, what are your thoughts on what's going on in Texas?
Well, I don't want to damage their athletic program too much and talk about them. I think they're a disgraceful academic. Well, I don't get the love affair with Texas sports. They've never won anything. They had one good year under Vince Young and Mac Brown. Other than that, they've been overrated.
Very well said. Very well said.
But I'm not a big fan of Texas Tech either as far as this season's concerned. I think they're a little overrated as well. I don't know. Texas just seems like one of those teams that finds a way to lose. They find a way to lose games late. I don't know.
Yeah.
Flip a coin in that one. I have no opinion.
Yeah, and with that, they get lucky at times also when they are able to pull a win off. Yeah, for me, I stay off it, but I'm just looking and going, maybe Texas picking up some legs, but I couldn't agree more. That team is that's school. I think overrated and overvalued just as a whole. Vince Young and Mac Brown. Look where Vince Young is today, right?
I agree, 100%.
All right, so I guess that wraps it up, guys.
All right. Well, guys,
right.
do us a favor. Tune in next time. Don't forget Big Man on Campus. Check out his website. And guys, bet responsible. Beat your bookie with us, the Odds Couple, and Big Man on Campus.